Hello everyone and welcome to our video. Today we're going to go over how to hold chapter elections and transitions online. Thanks to today's technology, that's not as daunting of a task as it used to be. However, for chapters used to in-person elections and transitions, it will be very important to establish a clear, simple system that can be easily communicated to chapter members. There's two main parts of the P.A.D election process: the voting itself and the transition between the outgoing and incoming officers. The transition process is very important because it sets up the new board to plan for the upcoming year and ensures nothing gets lost during the change between boards. We'll talk about transitions later, but first let's talk about setting up the elections themselves. There are a few key things that need to be done before the voting itself takes place. One of those important tasks is confirming your schedule for elections. As a reminder, it's expected that chapters should hold elections by February 15th of each year and fully transition to the new board by April 15th. Ideally, your election dates should have been determined when you created your semester calendar, but situations do come up where you have to schedule online elections unexpectedly. In these situations, it's especially important to have your schedule locked down. There are three main dates you should choose when you're setting up elections. First, the date to declare candidacy and submit candidacy statements. This means that this is the date when members need to announce their intent to run for office. The second date is the date and time that the online voting poll will open, and the third and final date is the date and time the poll will close. A good rule of thumb with online elections is to give a week or a few days between each deadline to allow for members to think about their options and properly vote. And be sure not to schedule the elections during an exam period or a school break. You won't get the kind of response you want if you're scheduling elections during those times. Once you've decided on your schedule, send the schedule out to chapter members so they know elections will be taking place online and when they need to be ready to vote. To ensure all members know about elections, we suggest an email, posting on any chapter social media, and if possible, posting through a school organization portal, such as Blackboard or Twin. Let us know if you need a copy of your chapter's roster so you have everyone's email addresses and a verified list of members in good standing. Your election message should also include the list of available officer positions and what their duties are. We'll talk more about that a little later. On to the next task. You'll need to pick a platform to host your elections. Honestly, any platform with an online poll option will work. SurveyMonkey, Zoom, and Google Surveys all work well, although there are many options out there. Your school's online platform may have this as an option as well. If all else fails, an email ballot is doable if you have a small chapter, but I will say that I don't recommend this for chapters with more than 30 members. Once you've picked your platform, I recommend setting up a test survey for you and your officers to play around with the system. This can be an easy 1 or 2 question survey. During your test survey, run down the checklist of what to look for. This includes how easy it is to create or edit your poll, meaning will it be difficult for you and another officer to enter all the information about the candidates? Another thing to look at is what type of questions does your poll offer? Are you able to add a write-in option? Can the system limit the amount of candidates a voter can choose for a particular office? Third thing to look for is automatic time limits. Will the poll open and close automatically, or will you need to manually log in and do that? Something else to check is how you share the poll with members. Will you be able to send out a link to everybody? Does everyone need a login information? Anything like that is really important to know. And finally, look at how you collect responses, how easy it will be to tell the winner of your poll. Testing the system like this will allow you to address any issues or potential questions that might come up before you actually start voting. Let's move on to the next topic, compiling candidacy submissions. Candidacy submissions are simply a member's statement that they are running for office. As I mentioned when we talked about scheduling, you should give members at least a few days, but preferably a week, to declare their candidacy after sending your initial message about elections. We also talked about sending out the list of available positions and their duties. It's important that members have this so they know what to expect if they are elected and what members should know what they are voting for. So grab that list from your chapter operations guide or from the executive office. When collecting candidacy submissions, we suggest you give your members running for office an option to write or record a candidacy statement. This statement will say a little bit about them, why they're running, and what they hope to accomplish as an officer. These statements can be sent out to your members with your online poll or as you get them. It's entirely up to you. Once you have a list of members running for office, send the full slate of candidates to your members so they have time to review their options. Like I mentioned before, this is also a good time to send out those candidacy statements if you haven't already. While your members are reviewing the candidates, compile your online poll. Like you did before, make sure to have your fellow officers review your poll for errors when you have it ready. You don't want anyone to be left out of the poll accidentally. All right, well, now that you have everything set up, it's time to vote. On the scheduled day, send out the online poll to your membership in good standing. Include clear instructions on how to submit votes and when the poll closes. We suggest that you send a reminder email a day or two before the poll closes to ensure all members have voted. You should be monitoring the results as they come in to make sure that there are no issues and that any technical problems are addressed immediately. However, keep in mind that this doesn't mean you should be distributing live election results. It's usually best to wait until the poll has fully closed before announcing anything. Once you've reached your scheduled end date and voting is complete, you can announce the results to your chapter membership. You should also officially report the results to the P.A.D Executive Office. P.A.D.org offers easy reporting links on the Officer Resources page, but you're also welcome to simply email the results to the appropriate staff member. When reporting election results, make sure you submit the new officers' full names, email addresses, and phone numbers. If needed, you should also report these results to your school or chapter advisors. Lost chapters should report the results to their district justices. Once the elections themselves are completed, it's time to set up your officer transition meeting. This is a meeting between the outgoing and incoming officers to transition duties, turn over chapter property, and brainstorm for the upcoming year. Besides the transfer of physical chapter property, like chapter banners, keys, or papers, much of that transition meeting can be easily done virtually as a conference call or a video chat meeting, which is great. Even being held remotely, the officer transition meeting is still the best way to pass on the duties of each office. You'll want to work through the below checklist during this meeting. This includes passing on a list of official chapter accounts and passwords, like Blackboard or Twen pages, chapter emails, any financial accounts. Think about anything with a password and make sure that gets passed on. You'll want to transfer chapter files and manuals if you have anything saved. You want to change the signatories on accounts where possible. Keep in mind that for accounts where you need to be in person to change over the signatories, which is often the case with bank accounts, the outgoing and incoming officers should exchange contact information to ensure they are able to get in touch when the in-person meeting can occur. You want to discuss the duties of each officer position so that each new officer knows what is expected of them and each outgoing officer can discuss what worked well for them and where they can see the position improving. You'll want to discuss and compile the fall calendar. Again, this is a great opportunity for those outgoing officers to talk about ideas and plans that they had for their year in office and how the new board can either change those ideas, improve on them, or come up with something new entirely. You'll want to take plenty of time to review chapter activities and challenges for the last year and also discuss chapter successes from the past year. The goal here is that the new board is not reinventing the wheel, but rather continuing the good work of the outgoing board. Finally, you'll want to establish some goals for the future. How do you see your chapter growing in the next few years? What's something that's really important to you and your board to get done? For the parts of the transition that must be done in person, set a date for over the summer or early in the fall semester when that can be completed. Again, this will include transferring all physical chapter materials like a banner, gavel, keys, etc., and updating the signatories on bank accounts and other non-online accounts. Let's talk about a few frequently asked questions when it comes to holding your elections and transitions. First, one of the biggest questions we get is who gets to vote. Members in good standing, which is defined as paid and initiated members, should be voting in the elections. If members have not yet paid their international initiation fee, they should pay that fee before being permitted to vote. Please be flexible with members as you plan initiation around elections. It is possible for some to join right before elections, and you want to ensure they are still able to vote. Another great question is what if someone runs unopposed? Election best practices say that you should still offer a write-in option for that position specifically. What if there's a tie? Well, there's a few options here. You can consider having the two winners hold co-positions. You can set up a runoff election specifically for that office, or you can discuss among the candidates whether one would like to concede. It's up to you how to handle it, but as always, be professional and fraternal when handling these kinds of issues. Finally, can the executive office help administer our elections? Of course. Please contact our office if you would like any assistance. We encourage chapters to administer their own elections as much as possible. After all, you know your chapters and your members far better than we do. But if there's something we can do to help, please let us know. Thank you so much for viewing our video today. If you need any additional assistance completing your elections and transitions, please contact your chapter advisors or the executive office.